Hello, everybody. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. We have only really a level 1 risk of severe storms across the nation today in the areas you see in the dark green solid colors. Parts of Montana, Kansas, into parts of the western and northern reaches of Missouri, as well as southeastern parts of Nebraska. Maybe in the panhandle of Oklahoma as well. And then a narrow band that's working its way through portions near Chicago and straight down south into the Boot Hill of Missouri. We'll get started with what's going on right now on that radar. And it's pretty active down there in Kansas, and a strong storm in Montana taking place as well. And let's get started with the Kansas cells working their way through. Now, from the Concordia area here, as we zoom in on a little bit closer radar down to the south, let's go to the Wichita radar here, shall we? We'll get you up to the latest with regards to what we're seeing in Wichita. Now, the radar shows that we do have some severe thunderstorms. The yellow boxes are warnings that you have right now. We have this backward C shape. We've got a cluster of storms on the northern half of the watch area, our warning area around there, and another curved area down here. Gusty winds, the primary threat from these storms. They are moving just north of Wichita. There is a bite taken out of that storm right there. Let's take a look at that. Now, we can actually see the outflow boundary from the storm right here in green as the density of the hail and rain pours out of the storm. It's causing wind to blow out ahead of it. Winds will be coming generally from a westerly direction or a northwesterly direction from these cells here. So these curved areas that we're seeing here, indicative of very windy storms. And wind will be the number one threat with these cells as they work their way through. And as we see, it's moving east at 40 miles per hour. Now, the main risk, again, is going to be the gusty winds. Look at the speed here, 70 mile per hour winds. Some cells could contain 3/4 inch diameter hail as we head into the evening hours. I do want to take a look at the latest with regards to the velocity in the storm. And I think we just slipped on up to Montana. Let me slide the radar back. I had a preset there that I didn't mean to do, but let's take a look at these wind gusts. Now, this is straight velocity. It's not relative to the storm's motion or anything, and we're looking from the area of Wichita, so keep that in mind. And we're looking for some reds and greens next to each other. There is a little bit in this area that we saw that little cutout out of the storm. It's not particularly strong in its intensity. What we are seeing, straight line wind velocities here that are enhanced in the brighter shades. Now, this is looking up into the cloud, not necessarily what's making its way down to the ground, but with the collapsing of thunderstorm cells, some of that energy that is in the form of wind that we're seeing aloft can mix down to the ground. So it looks like there could be some very stout winds moving over the Marion to Florence area right now and exiting Peabody. So very gusty storms working their way through that part of Kansas. Now let's take a look at some hail size estimates as we track with Hutch's hail tracker here what's going on. Now, these are the cells that have the greatest risk of producing some hail. As we zoom out just to get that global picture here, we see that the storm moving in on the Abilene corridor there on I-70, not quite as hail intense with the lower colors there, but still capable of close to 1 inch diameter hail. The Peabody cell, another cell down south and to the east of the Newton area, could have some more significant hail potential with those cells. Now, as we take a look a little bit closer at this southern cell, we'll measure what the estimates are by the Doppler radar, and we're talking 1 to 1 1/4 inch diameter hail. So again, gusty straight line winds. There is a little spin on this southernmost storm that's moving into that Whitewater area as well. We'll take a look at my shear tracking technology here as well. And again, I'm looking for greens, reds, and blues here next to each other. And it's really difficult to see that there's anything too strong here. So at best, we have some weak shear, maybe that Marion area seeing some shear making its way through. And to confirm that, I will pull up the storm relative velocity here to get the spin. And yes, there is some shear where we have greens immediately next to the reds right there in the direction the radar beam is pointing to. So that is what we're seeing down there in Kansas with strong thunderstorm cells rumbling through. There is another area of strong thunderstorm activity that is pushing its way through parts of Illinois, as well as out here to the east of Indianapolis right now. There's a statement from the National Weather Service out there. Let's get into the Indy radar here and take a look here, pardon me, while I get the latest radar data from the Indianapolis area. Strong storms, Martinsville, Mooresville, all the way in toward Indianapolis, and it's on the southern end of the loop here right now, just right over the radome. This little circle cut out is what meteorologists call that the cone of silence. Not the thing from the movie Twisters, the original, but that's the cone of silence in and around the closest areas of the radar, because there's ground clutter too close, so you have to just kind of forget that data that's that close. But that's a stout storm, and it's on the outside of the southern loop here as we look towards Southport, Beech Grove. And again, the movement of this storm basically is also off to the east, but only 18 miles per hour. A little slower movement means wind could be more of a problem there. And as far as the hail size estimates go, we're expecting half-inch diameter hail from it. And you can read here that the gusts of wind could be around 40 miles per hour in and around the Indianapolis area right now. Some stout cells up there out of Effington off to the west there, and Greenup as well. Now let's get back up to Montana. There is some wild and woolly weather going on in the big sky country of Montana, so we're going to take you up there. Let me switch over the Glasgow radar. We have a couple of cells working our way through the area, but this is Fort Peck Reservoir. Glasgow has just seen the storms move through. We have this leading backward C shape here. A lot more hail potential with this cell as well, where we're seeing the flashing blue colors here. The intensity there is a little bit more robust. And earlier I was seeing some signs of shear or spin in this storm. The details from the National Weather Service forecast office in Glasgow, Montana says, well, it's moving at 53 miles per hour. So the storm is moving at 53. And think about this with me. Meteorologically speaking, thunderstorms have a mass of rain and hail that come out of the bottom of those storms, and they purge out to the area ahead of the storm in all directions. So that's called a gust front. Any wind that it creates at all, any gust moving at 53 can add to that. So it's very, very likely we're seeing well in excess of 50 mile per hour gusts. Now the warning is for 60 mile per hour gusts, but there's a chance for some isolated areas that get even a little bit more than that. Now, areas in the path of the storm, Fort Peck, the marina out there. So if you're in that area, pay attention. Nashua and Glasgow seeing the storm just moving through right now and exiting. Taking a look at that hail tracker. Let's estimate the size for you here, and then we'll take a closer look. Now, this really isn't showing that significant of a hail size with these storms. And here's why. Let's take a look at the cloud tops with these storms. It's been a lot cooler up in northeast Montana the last couple of days. That could certainly have something to do with it. But let's take a look at that cloud top height here in and around Glasgow. Oh, it's just too close to the radar site to give us a real good blend. But we're talking probably 30,000 foot cloud tops at most here. So these are shallow, possibly supercell thunderstorms moving over the high plains of Montana. Another item of interest here is the fact that the air up there is pretty bone dry up there. I mean, we're talking dew points that earlier I was looking were in the 30s and 40s earlier in the day. So, and here is a look at some hail south of the Malta area. Let's see what they reported out there as the storms moved through. They had, a third of an inch diameter hail. So not huge hail out of those storms as well. So taking a look at our dew point temperatures across the area, check this out. Now, this is a look at our, let me see, the now temperatures. Let me find those up here. I've got a long list of items that I can show. Let's look at dew point temperatures. Now, dew point is the moisture available in the atmosphere to produce rain or make clouds. And dew points are indeed in the 40s and 30s. So we're coming off the high plains here out of the, not the Colorado Rockies, the Montana Rockies. And the air here fairly dry for this time of the year with dew points in Glasgow only around 50 degrees. Wolf Point, Montana at 45 degree reading right now, and 30s in the high country off to the west in Lewistown. So it's pretty dry air here. So that means that these clouds have to lift that air from the ground really, really high before we get a cloud base. So raindrops falling a lot of distance through dry air can evaporate before they even reach the ground. So hail size tends to be a little smaller, a little harder to make its way down to the ground. Meanwhile, for the storms in Kansas, check out the dew points in Wichita right now and the storms out to the west of you that are making their way through parts of central Kansas. Your dew points are closer to 65 to 70 degrees. There are a whole lot of moisture to work with those central storms in the state of Kansas. So that's a little look at what's going on right now as we take a look at the big picture. Let's go back to the national radar, and we'll just kind of take a pick around. You can see the hot look, what's going on here. Then we're going to get to your forecast right now. If you have a question, by the way, my name is meteorologist Hutch Johnson. Been broadcasting for the better part of 30 years, teaching college-level meteorology for a chunk of about 20 years of my career, and also doing a little research meteorology. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you have a question. So drop a line here and let me know. I'd be happy to address the weather in your area, and we'll look at the forecast here momentarily. But first, let's take a look at some of the changes. One cool way to look at how the weather is changing, and who might be noticing some of the most inclement weather across the area, or the biggest change, the slap in the face kind of weather that you might get, is by looking at how the weather has changed in the last 24 hours. So to do that, I'm going to pull up this graphic that I prepared for you, and it's a look at the temperature change across the nation. So where you see reds here, the temperature got warmer than 24 hours ago than right now. And where you see the blue pools, that's colder air. So Albuquerque, big time cool off of about 20 degrees cooler up in parts of New Mexico than yesterday. The panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma, significantly cooler today or right now than we were yesterday. And you can see the blue pool cool pool, rather, moving its way into northeast Montana. And it's this sharp cool down and along that boundary that's kicking off the thunderstorms that we have in the big sky country of Montana. So we have a cold pool and a dry line out here in West Texas. Let's take a look at the basics with regards to severe weather. Then we'll look at a modeled forecast as we go through the forecast. So this is what we've been talking about, and that's what's going on tonight. Here is a look at the risk of storms as we go through your Saturday. So looking across the lower 48, we're going to see here that we do have a chance of some storms once again in southeast Minnesota, northern parts of Wisconsin, stretching back through most of Iowa. This is a level 1 risk of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center. So the risk isn't huge here that we'll have a chance of widespread severe weather, but it would flirt with severe criteria. Now, as we look here, this must be some dry line action going on as we go into tomorrow, because as we look between Roswell and Lubbock, there is an area there where we have a level 2 on a 5-level severe weather scale. So some stout thunderstorm development is expected there. And in the green area, that's your level 1, where we may have some marginally severe storms. They could peak up to severe levels. Severe, by definition, meteorologically, 1-inch diameter hail is considered severe. And if a storm is going to produce gusts of wind, if they're 58 miles per hour or greater, then that is determined to be severe. So this is your Saturday outlook. Otherwise, the majority of the nation looks to be pretty good. Look out here in the Carolinas, well, north of you in the Virginias, I should say, and into western PA, a chance for a few storms to flirt with severe criteria. Again, this is on Saturday. Now let's check out that Sunday outlook real quickly, and then we'll get you more of an idea of the timing of the storm chances. The storms along the dry line in West Texas, the panhandle of Texas, and out there in parts of New Mexico, those will sneak out into the central plains, much of Oklahoma, northern Texas, as well as the state of Missouri, along the I-70 corridor, and point south towards Joplin and Springfield. Will have a chance to see some severe storms, but that chance right now, 2 days out, is looking to be marginal at best. So I guess we have what we call a pickle-shaped outlook for your day on Sunday. Now let's load up a look at the forecast models here, and we'll go ahead and take a look at a couple different models. One, I want to take a look. I think we'll just use a national view of the models here so we can get a peek at what the timing may be. And I am going to load up the European model because Hutch likes that. I think it does a little bit better job with the timing of storms on the outset. And more than 36 hours or so. So real quickly, I'm going to load this up for you here, and then we'll take a quick peek at what the forecast is as we go through time. Now, this is looking at your evening tonight. The storms that are in Montana now will be sweeping into parts of northern North Dakota, northern Minnesota. Storms develop as we go into the midday hour. This is around noon to 11 a.m. out to the west, and we're going to see those storms are forming in the, mountains of western Colorado. As low develops there, low pressure that is, we're going to see the cold, dry flow off of the high terrain and moving down into the high plains. That's going to mingle with the humid air that's in parts of central and eastern Texas, and off go the storms. So the timing will be anytime in the afternoon as we look into the plains of Texas, Oklahoma, and that there is the area of concern for tomorrow, right here. Now, as we go into the evening hours, those storms will continue to percolate. Look at what's going on in the mountains of Colorado. This European model says that's pink on the radar. What? We haven't seen that for a while. That's some flaky nonsense. In the central Rockies of Colorado, likely at elevations over about 5,000 or 6,000 feet. Now, That low pressure system continues to wreak havoc as we go into Sunday morning, but then the risk of severe weather, boom, in the afternoon slides off to the east as we go through Sunday evening. So this is Sunday evening and into early Monday morning. Most of the west will be quiet. So that's a little bit on the timing of the storms and where they may be the strongest. And I am meteorologist Hutch Johnson. I sure appreciate you joining me here. If you enjoyed what you heard here, I'd appreciate a like on the old video. That does definitely help. And well, share with a friend. And also, if you have a question, let me know. I'll be happy to do my best to look that up and give you an answer as well. For now, if you're in the path of storms in northeast Montana, there's a risk for a couple more severe ones. After dark, the risk goes away as these storms move into North Dakota and northern Minnesota. And then as we go into the late night hours in Kansas, those storms are in a lot more a moisture-rich environment, and they could percolate a little bit later into the overnight hours. Lynn King says, thanks, watching from Alvarado. Good to have you on, Lynn. Thank you so very much. And Janet says, watching from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And yes, some stormy weather is on its way to you tonight as I back the European model up here just a little bit. So up in the Winnipeg area, you can expect, it's not hockey season, but the Jets would be happy because it's going to be cooler, a chance of showers and storms as we go into the morning hours there near Lake Winnipeg and in the Red River Valley of the North up into Canada. So thanks for watching, Janet. It's a pleasure to have you on board. And again, I love interacting with you. Look at this, by the way, as the low pressure system develops on Saturday night in the mountains of, western Montana and northern parts of Idaho. A chance for some flaky nonsense there as well. All right, that's a look at your forecast. And once again, strong storms working through Kansas, strong storms working right now through other parts of Montana and also out towards Indiana. If you're in the path of these storms, the risk of severe isn't high, but Kansas, you have a multitude of severe thunderstorm warnings right now. The main threat from those is wind gusts at or near 70 miles per hour. Seek shelter in an interior room. Stay away from those windows. Those winds will likely be coming from west to east as those storms are propagating in an eastward fashion across the plains. Thanks for watching. And until next time, stay tuned to me here on Hutch's Weather. Drop me a like. Subscribe by hitting the subscribe button on YouTube and have yourself a wonderful weekend. And enjoy.